So that's an abridged history of Pangulf. Anyways, I came in late 91 and early 92. I looked at the numbers and it just wasn't totaling up. Our costs were far higher than our revenues. Again, quite coincidentally, and I'm not trying to plug Emirates Bank here, we landed with Emirates Bank, and for 10 years, they ended up being our largest piece of business. They're not our largest piece of business now. We do a lot of digital work for them. Emirates Bank then had a managing director called Anis Al-Jalaf, who I still think was one of the true visionaries of Dubai. Anis has built a lot of businesses, a lot of ideas. Anis was making a presentation, and one of the things that Pangulf had done was to be the first company to buy Macintosh computers back in 88, 89. And those Mac computers, one thing they could do was to make slides.
Yes.
So PowerPoints was about 15 years before PowerPoints. The slide makers were there.
Yeah, yeah.
So Anis was making a presentation at some place, and at that presentation, there was a young man who had just come in, an Emirati, who had just come in from Singapore to Dubai to head up a government entity, and the department was still being formed. And in the meanwhile, he got a couple of other assignments to restructure the aluminium smelter, Dubai, and the World Trade Center, Mohammed Al Abar. So he was in that presentation. He saw Anis's slides. And in the coffee break, and I was standing with Anis, and he told Anis that, hey, how did you get that done? And he said, ask him. So Mohammed said, will you make my slides? And I'm Mohammed Al Abar. I said, sure, give me a call and we'll do something. So he called me, he sent me his script. And he was on the board of what is now DTCM,
right,
which was then called the Dubai Tourism and Promotion Board. I'm talking 92, 93, late 92. So he said, here's the transcript. And I hesitantly called him back and I said, if you don't mind, I heard you, and this is not you, the transcript. He said, what do you mean? I said, you've got an American twang, and this is Queen's English, so you will never feel comfortable there.
Sure.
He says, in which case, can you rewrite it for me?
Ah.
I said, sure. That's how the relationship with the economic department started.
How interesting.
And then the economic department got built, the branding happened, and he introduced me to one of his deputies, who happened to be related to him, but that's a different issue, and called Mohammed Al-Gargawi. And we built the Dubai Quality Award. From there, the Dubai Shopping Festival happened, Summer Surprises, Government Excellence Program, etc., etc. In between, EMAR happened, then Internet City happened, and the rest goes on. Yeah.
Wow. Tell us about this experience of starting Dubai Shopping Festival.
Well, it was very interesting. At the outset, let me clear a myth. It's not me. I happen to be at the right place. The Dubai Shopping Festival is a creation of what I call the 3M, the three Mohammeds, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, Mohammed Al Abar, and Mohammed Al Gargawi.
Okay.
And I really mean it. I get more credit than because I happen to be there. And some of those things, you're just lucky on that. But
sure.
That notwithstanding, let me give you, the white paper got approved, I can remember the dates, on the 28th of June 1995. The business model was going to be that we will get multiple revenue streams. Revenue stream 1 was sponsorship. Revenue stream 2 was what I'd call a little haram, but nevertheless, you're selling chance. And we'd worked a deal with Lexus on that. It was it looked like a great model. So that was revenue stream number 2. And revenue stream number 3 was meant to be collections from gates of various events and whatever you do. And 4th revenue stream, what we had thought was, to do a great cultural and event calendar, concerts and theater.
Wow.
And bankroll that and make money on that. That World Trade Center had taken the task. So here it is. His Highness has given the approval in principle. Go ahead, do it. I still remember the number. The total cost was going to be about 35 million dirhams, everything put together. So Mohammed Al Abar tells me half the cost. I said, you can't do it. He says, just do it. Show it to me at $5 million and show me $6 million of revenue. I need it approved. So we do that. He says, now come in and tell me what the relationship would be between Pangulf and the government of Dubai if we're going to set it up. So he said, show me. So the next day we have a meeting. and I present 4 scenarios. He says, show me multiple options. So there were 4 business models that I presented. Business model number 1 was that, we could operate as consultants, so charge you for time that we spend. Business model number 2 was as an advertising agent. In those days, agents took a percentage of media spend. Model number 3 was co-venture, that we'll take a percentage of the overall revenues. And model number 4 was, it'll come back, sorry. Anyway, so Mohammed asked me, where do you think you'll make the most money? So I said, I think I'll make the most money if we co-venture. So where do you think we'll make the least amount of money? I said, as an advertising agent. He said, what is your recommendation? I said, I prefer to be an advertising agent. He says, you think I'm stupid? You can take me to the cleaners now. You can ask him on this, first time. You can take me to the cleaners now. So why do you want the least amount of money? I said, Mr. Alavar, I'd like you as a client 10 years down the road as well. And literally that's what happened. 2 years in, and he called me for dinner one day, and he says, I've checked everything out here. I thought there was some way by which you were making money. I've checked the market, you're underpricing yourself, now you raise your pricing. So part of the thing is when you go, don't go for the kill, go for sustainability. Ensure that what you do, I said, if I take you to the cleaners 1 year, everybody's going to be on our case that these guys ripped the government off. So you need to have a sustainable model.
Sure.
So that's an interesting learning.
And at what point did the government experience happen? Were you working full-time for the government?
No. In 99, then when we were evolving what is now the knowledge economy hub, what is credited as Michael Porter's clustered economy model, the version 1.0 was the world's first, if I may say, physical community for the virtual community. Okay. That is where it was started.
Physical community for the
virtual community.
Wow.
It is, you're talking Q3 of 1999, a few factors that were there. You look at the valuation of eToys, which was just a domain registered, was became greater than Toys R Us within a month of announcement. You looked at a copy of Fortune magazine of August 99, and with the cover was the graduating batch of Harvard Business School and how people were shunning investment banks and strategy consulting jobs and taking jobs in .coms at 1/3 the salary with stock options.
Yes.
And then you started reading stories about how the biggest impediment to .coms was the lack of H1 visas. All the H1 visas were completed by H2 of 99. And therefore, all projects were behind schedule. It was a no-brainer to create Dubai Internet City in Dubai. So that's how this idea happened. It became a fantastic real estate story, and it stayed a very good real estate story.
Wow, very, very interesting. He's actually a dropout. No, really, he is. Tell us about this dropout.
I dropped out of the National Institute of Design. I started off after my high school. I went to NID for a variety of reasons, and none of them had to do with the design, with the content. It was a great campus. There were great-looking girls, and it sounded like a cool thing to do.
By the way, NID is India's premier design institute. So anybody who's anybody in design in India, in visual communication, has to go to NID or you're nobody. So, so you went there.
And NID believed, and I still say, they believed that they had a very, very fail-proof admission criteria.
Right, yes.
So they used to put you, I'm talking mid-70s, they used to put you through a battery of tests. And those tests were all kinds of tests, and obviously there was something wrong. I got through. And I had zero motor skills, and I wanted to be a designer. So, you can fake it for a while, but you can't fake it forever. Maybe I understood design, but maybe I couldn't do design. Therefore, after that, I had to get into advertising because, that was perhaps one industry where maybe the left brain and the right brain converged to a no brain, but that's,
Achha, I just want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, and you mentioned it a few times, so it's sort of standing up for me. You keep mentioning your wife all the time.
Yeah. We've known each other for a long time. Yeah. So she pushes me quite hard. So I have to wake up every morning and do that. Uh, what I call my night job, she runs it, so I help her.
What's the night job?
Well, we have interests, and she runs a reasonably scaled international K-12 education business where we've got 4 international schools and 9 nurseries here. But she's the boss there. I help her occasionally. So that's my night job. We've known each other for a while. Yeah.
So before you took up the interface job, you
Yeah.
called her and discussed with her and then said, "Acha, karoon ya nahi karoon?"
No, I had to wait for her, and I had to inform her that do you mind, I'm taking a bit of a risk, so you stay on with your job, and
Is that something you would?
I think as an entrepreneur, if you venture into a startup, you need your family's support. Absolutely, not just support, you need your family's willingness, because very often what's going to happen is you're not going to succeed in getting the same amount of bread home as you were in your corporate job. And if that's going to lead to a situation at home, then you're not going to be able to focus on building your first company.
Sure.
Very often, when you're totally frustrated, you need to go back home, and if you don't have support, frustration will increase. So you're going to wonder what you're doing. So it's absolutely critical when you start up to have your family's support.
So you have some your own take on home truths about entrepreneurship, don't you?
Yeah, 7 home truths. The first is entrepreneuring is a pretty lonely process. People think it's very easy. I remember the time when I left the government of Dubai, and before I became full-time with BPG, there was a bit of a situation where people could not know that I'd left the government for a variety of reasons. So I moved to level 41 of Emirates Towers, and a number of you entrepreneurs would know level 41 of Emirates Towers is a serviced office level where there are a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of small businesses start from there. So when I set up there, timing-wise, around the same time, another person was significantly senior to me, but somebody that I knew left a very senior job with Jumbo, a person called Mr. MP Sharma, and he was beginning to wonder that what do I do and how do I get started. So I said, Sharma ji, mere saath coffee, sorry, I'm breaking into Hindi. I said, Sharma Saab, will you come for a cup of coffee to my office? So I invited him to level 41. He said, this looks very good, partner. Does it cost a lot? I said, no, it doesn't cost too much. And the biggest advantage is that you'll have me to have coffee with. So why don't you set up shop there? So we did a deal. So he set up his first company, Tech Mart over there. We said, whenever one party moves to some new office, we'll give the option of the next door office to that person. Why? This objective was very simple. You are very lonely. You need somebody to talk to.
Right.
So we moved to, when I decided to move and set up a firm called Innoventure Partners, we moved out of there. So Mr. Sharma also moved his Tech Mart next to it. When he moved his Tech Mart out of that second office, we took over that office. And there is zero power. As an executive, there are people who listen to you.
Right, okay.
Because whether in the office or in transactions, you're in a position to give. Initially, there's virtually no money. If your objective is that, I need to earn more than what I am now, in the short term, you're not going to get there. Okay. So you need to be, that's the reality that other reality is none of your business plans will always work. Even the business ideas don't work. You start off being an entrepreneur wanting to do an online venture, and you could end up doing an offline venture, actually.
Yeah.
So your destiny has strange ways of going about it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd say failure at some point of time of your career or the other is almost inevitable. You will fail at times, and you need to be prepared for that. And I have yet to come across, if there's somebody who says, I've always succeeded, either the person has not taken risks or the person is lying. And that's my personal belief.
I want to pause you right there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of your failures.
Well, I can talk about two. When we're talking about the Dubai Internet City, my vision wasn't real estate. My vision was to try and create an ecosystem.
Okay.
An ecosystem where capital and ideas converged. An ecosystem where there was sufficient capital available.
Like a matchmaking.
Well, it's combination. So in terms of verticals, you're talking about incubators, you're talking about accelerators, and you're talking about early stage venturing, and you're talking about later stage venturing.
Wow, this you thought of then.
That's why after Dubai Internet City, we set up Dubai Media City, and shortly after that, we set up Dubai Ideas Oasis. Dubai Ideas Oasis failed. I left the government at that stage. It failed. I'd like to say, in fact, last week I was having coffee with His Excellency the Cabinet Affairs Minister, Mohammed Gargawi, who was the chairman of Dubai Holding. And he says, Avi, you know what? The incubators bit, we want to do it again. So, sometimes some ideas fail because they're a little ahead of the times. Sure. And I told him, in today's context, you have a legal problem that you cannot, I have a problem, I have office space in a TCOM space. I can't do a DED registered company, I can't do a TCOM registered company. You have all kinds of funny problems on this. You can't build new companies out of the same space. Right. You need to have an Ijara, which is office space. It's complex.
Right, yes.
So he said, well, we'll sort everything out. But Dubai Ideas Oasis, here's what happened. We made a few investments. And one of those investments was what I thought was a really sexy company out of Jordan. And I was betting on the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur was, Jordan has some exceptionally talented guys. This kid had studied at Stanford and MIT, undergrad in Stanford, graduate studies from Sloan. And he'd worked between his undergrad and grad at Accenture. And after that, he'd worked at McKinsey. And he was setting up a financial services aggregator for the region. Okay. And he'd scaled. He'd got some money. City Ventures had put money, so valuation was defined. We took a bet. We decided to put as Dubai Inc. We decided to put $1 million onto it. And we did all the due diligence. It was at a valuation 30% lower of City Ventures because we managed to sell strategically. Out of $1 million, half of it was in kind, in services and in real estate. We went through the entire process. I had an investment committee, two of the other TCOM constituents, CEOs then, the one who subsequently ran Dubai Group called South Balawi, and the person who ran Dubai Properties called hardships. They were part of the investment committee. I didn't get into the investment committee. The investment committee took the call. They said, great. I had the government auditors after my case. They said, how can you invest in a company which is loss-making? So it's kind of difficult. So you learn lessons that some ideas may be ahead of the time. Maybe we couldn't nurture them well enough, but it failed. So Dubai Ideas Oasis became Dubai DDIA, Dubai Development and Investment Authority, which then became Tatweer. So that's Tatweer, right. So Tatweer became pure real estate, but it's a different story about Tatweer.
Yes, okay.
So that's one.
Failures. So this was one, and you were going to tell us.
The second one was, I'm talking Q2 2008, before Lehman Brothers happened. In the summer of 2008, I'm in New York. I meet a rather interesting person. His name was Jim Dunning. Jim was, he's the guy who flipped Ziff Davis. So he made $375 million on flipping a technology media company. So Jim was a legendary private equity guy in New York. And Jim had hit upon a great idea, and he was backing an idea. And that was a media company called Double Down Media. And they were doing magazines like Trader Monthly and Dealmaker. Now, these are not about deal making, or they're not about trading. They're Wall Street focused lifestyle journals. These were Esquires for Wall Street. That was what it was. And Trader and Dealmaker's whole value proposition was it's not just the magazine, it's the parties that they did, and they had multiple revenue streams through events and all that. Sounded like a good idea. I also thought that capital is in the region. Money managers are in New York. they need to bridge. So maybe if you do deal maker and trader out here and you do annual events, you could do matchmaking events, and our model was we'll get 75 basis points for every dollar that we raise. Theoretical.
Sure. Was this your first publishing venture?
That was my first publishing.
You've never touched it? Okay.
Never. I worked in publishing after news for a little while.
Yeah.
Advertising, you know the revenue streams.
Sure.
But, I hadn't done publishing. So we decided to launch, and the first deal makers, the first issue's cover magazine, I had to shoot it